We start tonight with a Fox News alert. Tonight we begin our Hannity watch on the Democrats and their radical agenda for America. Nancy Pelosi has now officially taken back the gavel, and now the hate Trump Democrats are gearing up to carry out the agenda they were hiding all during the election and we were warning you about. They want their crumbs back. They want to eliminate ICE, open borders, Obamacare on steroids. They want a single-payer system. Endless investigations. How does that help you? They want to investigate the president. And, of course, impeachment. With this, they wouldn't tell you. So here it is, day one of the new Congress. A Democrat representative has already introduced articles of impeachment. They need to read the Constitution. It would be a nice intellectual exercise for them. And the newly crowned Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she is refusing to rule out a plan to impeach President Trump. Watch this.
Many Democrats are talking about impeachment. You've said it would be sad and divisive for the country to pursue impeachment. Are you willing to rule it out?
Well, we have to wait and see what happens with the Mueller report. We shouldn't be impeaching for a political reason, and we shouldn't avoid impeachment for a political reason. So we'll just have to see how it comes.
Do you believe the special counsel should honor and observe the Department of Justice guidance that states a sitting president cannot be indicted?
I do not think that that is conclusive. No, I do not.
So you think it's possible that special counsel Mueller could legally indict a sitting president?
Let's just see what Mueller does. Let's spend our time on getting results for the American people.
As you well know, there is long-standing Department of Justice guidance that states a sitting president should not be indicted. But it is not the law.
No, it is not the law. Everything indicates that a president can be indicted after he is no longer president.
Oh, after he's no longer president. Oh, okay. All these things these Trump haters wouldn't tell you during the campaign. Now they're revealing it. We were right from the beginning. And in addition to impeachment, Democrats are also preparing new legislation that demands 10 years of the president's tax returns. That's so important for your life. And you better believe they plan for a big tax cut. That's probably all imminent. There are no moderates left in the Democratic Party, which is really sad. Scoop Jackson, more conservative Democrats that want to get things done for the country, coming together, bipartisanship, I don't see it. Now, as it gets pushed further and further to the extreme radical left, watch what's going to happen. We have incoming socialists, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Rashida Tlaib. They're now joining their fellow comrade Bernie Sanders in Congress. They're planning to spend a lot of your hard-earned money. Single payer, Medicaid for all, government-funded higher education for all, a Green New Deal with massive government funding for, quote, renewable clean energy. Didn't we try that, Solyndra? Now, they're not just coming for your crumbs. They want the entire meal. But let not your heart be troubled. That's the big news tonight. This is all one big show. No bill is going to pass without the approval of the Republican Senate or the Republican president. And thanks to the president's hard work for the midterm elections, Republicans picked up seats in the Senate, and they have a solid majority. Oh, and let me make a prediction. They will never, ever, ever, in spite of all their hopes and prayers and dreams and their giddiness and their excitement and the hate Trump media saying it, they're never going to get 2/3 of the U.S. Senate to vote to convict Trump on impeachment. Never going to happen. So they're wasting America's time and they're stopping progress. Still, none of this is stopping House Democrats from promoting a spending bill that refuses to fund any part of a wall on our southern border. $0. They were offering $1.6 billion. Now it's zero. President Trump is holding the line. He's demanding Democrats why they don't want a barrier, why it's so important, and why did they support it just, 4 short years ago? They were all sounding like Donald Trump.
You can call it a barrier, you can call it whatever you want, but essentially we need protection in our country. We're going to make it good. The people of our country want it. I have never had so much support as I have in the last week over my stance for border security, for border control, and for, frankly, the wall or the barrier. Without a wall, you cannot have border security. Without a very strong form of barrier, call it what you will, but without a wall, you cannot have border security. It won't work. You see what's just been put out on social media where thousands of people are rushing the border. having a drone fly overhead, and I think nobody knows much more about technology, this type of technology certainly, than I do. Having drones and various other forms of sensors, they're all fine, but they're not going to stop the problems that this country has. We've never had more people wanting to come to the United States, and that has to do with the economy and has to do with a lot of other things. We're doing great as a country, but the better we do, the more people want to come in.
Here's the truth we all need to know. This is much more than politics. It's all about politics. It's also a matter of national security. The wall is just not some hallowed campaign tactic. It's something that our own Border Patrol agents are calling for, that they desperately say they want and need. But you don't have to take my word for it. Take a step back and listen to them. They're on the front lines.
I've been a Border Patrol agent for 21 years. I can personally tell you from the work that I have done on the southwest border that physical barriers, that walls actually work. You hear a lot of talk from the expert that there are experts that say that walls don't work. I promise you that if you interview Border Patrol agents, they will tell you that walls work.
We are all affected by this shutdown. We have skin in the game. However, it comes down to border security. And we're extremely grateful to President Trump, and we fully support what he is doing to take care of our nation's borders, to take care of the future of this United States. It has nothing to do with political parties. You all got to ask yourself this question. If I come to your home, do you want me to knock on the front door, or do you want me to climb through that window?
I just want to talk about some of those criminals that Border Patrol agents apprehend on a daily basis. We're talking about murderers, rapists, people that commit very serious crimes in this country. ICE has been doing an amazing job in deporting a lot of these people back to their countries. Unfortunately, once we deport these people will not stay in their country. These criminal aliens that have been released from jail, that have been deported, will come right back into the United States. However, if we had a physical barrier, if we had a wall, we would be able to stop that.
I've been down to the border 13 times, from the Rio Grande to San Diego. I've been in the drug warehouses, helicopter, all-terrain vehicle, horseback, you can laugh, but I was, boats, on foot. I've watched gang members arrested. We have the video. Are the Democrats going to listen to the agents? Are they going to put the American people first? How many Americans need to die because we have open borders and sanctuary city and state policies before Democrats take this seriously? How long are we going to witness drug trafficking targeting our kids in small towns and big cities, or the human trafficking, or the infiltration of gangs, and even terrorists that we have identified trying to cross our border illegally and get into this country and cause us harm, before the Democrats stop playing politics? 4 years ago, they supported the Trump policy. How many billions of dollars must you, the American taxpayers, spend in deportation fees, court costs, health care, education, the criminal justice system, other social services before we start controlling immigration at our southern border? I have said this many, many times. I am certain 98, 99% of those people that want to cross the border into this country, they just want a better life. The things we take for granted, freedom, opportunity, hope for their kids, their grandkids. But we just want to do it legally. Vet them. Big wall, big door. And that's why in tonight's Hannity Watch on the border and on the government shutdown, we are calling BS on all of these Democrats' fake attempts to reopen the government. Democrats refuse to listen to the Border Patrol. They refused to listen to a security briefing yesterday with the Homeland Security Secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen. They even refused to negotiate with the president over the holidays. President Trump stayed in Washington. He didn't go down to Mar-a-Lago over Christmas, hoping the Democrats would come over to the White House and negotiate a deal. Nancy Pelosi, she was on a luxurious vacation in beautiful Hawaii, some 12 hours away, 6 hours behind the time in D.C. When confronted by NBC News, well, she said this about leaving town for vacation.
Now, you had said before the shutdown that he was being quite cavalier and that maybe the shutdown would give him more time to golf. But in the end, it was you that took a holiday.
Why does it take a holiday? I observed the Christmas holiday for a few days, and why cut in half the time I would have had with my family.
Was that a cheap shot?
But the fact, it's not. It's unimportant. It's totally unimportant. The president may not know this, but Hawaii is part of the United States of America. Maybe he doesn't realize that.
You know, over this past weekend, we lost a police officer. His name was Officer Singh. This guy was in California, and the sheriff of that county was on this show last night saying the sanctuary policies played a big part in what happened because the murderer was involved in the criminal justice system and was never deported. But Speaker Pelosi, well, the president was in the White House waiting to negotiate. You were thousands of miles away, lapping it up, life of luxury, playing politics with border security. Americans died over the course of that weekend. Americans, an American hero, police officer with a 5-month-old son is no longer on this earth providing for his child. Now, this is now day one of the Pelosi shutdown. She obviously doesn't care about DACA because the president's willing to negotiate DACA. He's willing to talk about dreamers. He's willing to put the safety and security of the American people first. Is she now doing what she's now doing? Is this in America's best interest? Is this in your best interest, your family's best interest? Seems like people only care about destroying and hating President Trump and everyone around him. Hating Trump is now their singular focus of every second, of every minute, of every hour, of every day. And, of course, Pelosi's not the only adversary on Capitol Hill. On Wednesday, Democratic Congressman Hank Johnson, he actually compared President Trump and all of his supporters to Nazis. And today, Sirius XM Patriots Kerry Pickett asked Johnson about those hate-filled remarks, and he doubles down. Take a listen.
What I did was compare the times that we live in to the times that that existed at the time Hitler gained power. I mentioned the fact that he gained power through democratic elections, same way Trump did. Our right to speak, freedom of the press, due process, equal protection of the law, all of those things are threatened by the current climate of right-wing extremism.
Now, remember, this is the same genius congressman who openly worried that the island of Guam was going to capsize and tip over if too many U.S. military personnel were stationed on the island. They were going to tip the island over. That actually happened. He actually said that. And that's your Democratic Party, now in control of the U.S. House of Representatives. And, of course, Democrats aren't the only people working against the president. Even incoming Republican Senator Mitt Romney, well, he wanted Trump's endorsement, now criticizing Trump in an op-ed, causing many of his Republican colleagues to resoundingly slam the freshman senator. Now, reporter Kerry Pickett also caught up with Romney today, asked him about his rough start on Capitol Hill. Take a look.
The president endorsed you, and now you made this op-ed. How is that not considered essentially a shiv in the back?
It's certainly an opportunity for us to work together on things where we agree. I actually said prior to the primary in an op-ed that I wrote in the Utah papers that I would work with the president on places where we agree, that where we disagreed, I'd point that out. That's the great nature of this representative democracy, which is where we agree, we come together. Where there are disagreements, we express those openly and honestly. That allows people to have trust in one another, and I look forward to being able to have a trusting relationship with the president and with others, despite differences from time to time.
All right, so 2020 is just around the corner. Romney's going to need to ask himself, well, what's better for the country? The president's pro-growth agenda, lower taxes, less regulation. Oh, we are now energy independent, we are now making more oil or producing more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia. We are, for the first time in decades, energy independent. Does he want originalist Supreme Court justices? Does he want border security? Or does he want the hate Trump media to like him, or hate Trump Democrats, or the hate Trump deep state, hell-bent on destroying not only the president, but a duly elected president and his administration? One such Democrat, Elizabeth Warren, has already announced her presidential bid after saying she wasn't going to run in March. Oh, I thought Democrats hate lying or, well, not remembering correctly. Take a look.
I hear the president going after you from time to time, referring to you as Pocahontas. I know recently you were speaking about your Native American heritage. Does that get under your skin when he does that? And do you want to run for president in 2020?
I am not running for president in 2020.
I thought Trump haters didn't like lying. Ooh. Now, of course, we all know this is nothing new for Elizabeth Warren. Today, the president, he wasted no time calling her out for her fraudulent claims of Native American heritage, posting this tweet mocking Warren's now infamous DNA test and exposing her life of lies. And even some on the left are coming after the 2020 hopeful over the debacle. For example, new piece in the Huffington Post titled, "Elizabeth Warren's Insult to Native Americans Matters Even More Now That She's Running." And they slam her for refusing to stop publicly claiming her family is part Native. Another potential Democratic 2020 hopeful, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo beginning his third term, using his inaugural address to slam President Trump, of course. Watch this.
From voting reforms to Roe v. Wade for New York, to protecting a woman's right to choose, to better gun laws, to health care protection, to legalizing marijuana, to protecting the labor movement, to a Green New Deal, to real criminal justice reform, we will make history. And New York will move forward, not by building a wall, my friends, but by building new bridges and building new airports and creating new middle-class jobs.
Maybe Cuomo should spend more time focusing on his own state, which is now home to one of the most corrupt and inefficient governments in the entire country, with New Yorkers leaving the state in droves, moving to tax havens like Texas and Florida. Pretty much a disgrace. I'm going to have a lot more on that later in the show. But it's time for tonight's Hannity Watch on the Deep State. Our own Catherine Herridge reporting House Republicans shuttering their long-running probes into the FBI and Justice Department's actions during the 2016 campaign as they hand over power. But their final findings reveal FBI divisions over the Clinton case, conflicting claims on Rod Rosenstein's comments about recording the president. Chairman Gowdy, Chairman Goodlatte even called for a second special counsel to investigate decisions made by the DOJ in the Clinton email and Russia probes and, quote, the disparate way these two investigations were seemingly conducted. Now, the House investigation also determined that high-level discussions were taking place at the FBI and the DOJ about invoking the 25th Amendment and removing the president that they didn't want elected in the first place from office, a claim that Rod Rosenstein has adamantly denied. And while House investigations are now over, Senator Lindsey Graham is picking up right where they left off.